war of words erupting on the campaign trail. Last night, the chief anchor of the largest Spanish-language newscast in the United States was kicked out of a Donald Trump news conference. And tonight, no one is backing down, with Jorge Ramos standing by his conduct and Donald Trump accusing Ramos of, quote, ranting and raving like a madman. It was about 24 hours ago when Ramos confronted Trump in Iowa, challenging Trump's immigration proposals. Trump refused to answer at first because Ramos was not called on by him. Watch.
Trump has a question about immigration. Your immigration plan.
Okay, who's next? Yeah, please.
Mr. Trump, I have a question.
Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down.
No.
Sit down.
No, I'm
Sit down.
an immigrant.
Go ahead.
I have the right to ask the question.
No, you don't. You haven't been called.
I have the right to ask the question.
Go back to Univision. Go ahead.
You cannot deport 11 million.
Go ahead.
You cannot deport 11 million people. You cannot build a 1900 wall. You cannot deny citizenship to children.
Sit down, please.
Ideas.
You weren't called.
I'm a reporter and don't touch me, sir. Don't touch me.
Go.
You cannot touch me. I have the right to ask a question.
Joining me now, Jorge Ramos. He is chief news anchor for Univision and host of America with Jorge Ramos on the Fusion Cable Network. Jorge, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. So, what is it like to be caught in the crosshairs of a billionaire presidential frontrunner?
Well, you know exactly how it feels. But before we start, let me just say that today is a really sad day for journalism, and my condolences to the families of the victims today in Virginia. You know, the only thing I wanted to do is to ask a question. Many weeks ago, I requested an interview with Mr. Donald Trump. I sent him a handwritten note with my cell phone. Instead of returning our phone calls or calling me, he published it online, and he just didn't want to give me an answer. However, there are many questions that we have on Mr. Donald Trump. How is he going to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? Mm-hmm. How is he going to deny citizenship for the children of those immigrants here? How is he going to build a 1,900-mile wall? So we needed answers, so we decided to go to Iowa, go to a press conference, and ask those questions. And clearly, Donald Trump didn't like my question, and then that's what happened. He tried to silence me, and in this country, you cannot do that. I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm an immigrant, I'm a reporter, and I have the right in this country to ask any question I want to whomever I want.
And what he said? What he said was he was suggesting you were looking for a confrontation, that you were rude to the other reporters in the room because you didn't wait your turn.
No, I follow my turn. Two reporters for me asked their questions, and then I said I have a question on immigration, and nobody else said anything. He was ready to listen to my question, and as soon as I started telling him that it was impossible, because it's really his immigration plan is full of empty promises, that it is impossible to do what he's saying that he's going to do, he didn't like the question, and then he called on another reporter, trying to make sure that I would stop, and he told me to sit down.
Let me ask you this. So clearly he's not a fan of yours.
So I follow the rules, and he just didn't like the question.
Right. It's not unusual for a reporter to jump up and start questioning.
I was forced out of the room.
Okay, it's not unusual for a reporter to do what you did. I mean, that's clear. All the reporters have said
it happens all the time.
However, let me ask you this. Well, let me ask you this, because he clearly is not a fan of yours and of Univision's, but it appears to be mutual.
Neither yours.
So in his defense, why would he want to engage with you when you are on the record as calling him the most hateful, divisive figure running for president right now?
Well, because his words are dangerous and his ideas are extreme when it comes to immigration and when it comes to freedom of the press. I've been a journalist for 30 years, and I've never been ejected from any press conference anywhere in the world. Those are the things that you see in dictatorships, not in the United States of America. And it is very important that he answers the question. He hasn't answered the questions on how is he going to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants from this country? Can you imagine, Megyn, what would it be? It would require the army. Is he going to put thousands of immigrants in stadiums and then use buses and airplanes to deport them? That's not the United States that I know. And he has to answer those questions. Is he going to get in the business of deporting babies? Because that's what he wants to do by denying citizenship to the children born in this country.
He's been asked some of those.
Those are important questions that we have to ask.
Sorry, even when you came back in, you asked him some of those questions. You said, how are you going to build a fence that's 1,900 miles? He said, it's easy. I've built building. It's tougher to build a building that's 95 stories high than to build a fence that's 19. I'm a builder, he says. Do you accept that?
Mm-hmm. No, of course not, because it's a waste. He says he's very good with money, but let me tell you something. It would be a waste of money to build a 1,900-mile wall simply because almost 40% of all immigrants come by plane and they overstay their visas.
He says
so
he
really
doesn't believe
make
that.
Any sense. He said he doesn't believe that. Well, facts are facts. And facts is that they come by plane, almost 40%, and the fact is that 75% of Latinos nationwide have a negative opinion of Mr. Trump, and without the Latino
Gallup poll showed 65%.
He's not going to win the Hispanic vote.
Showed 65%, but so
exactly.
He did give you an
answer. Poll said 75%.
Here's my question, because he did give you an answer, but you disagreed with the answer. But the thing is, he doesn't like Univision. He's suing Univision for $500 million because they canceled his Miss America.
He doesn't like you.
Miss USA.
Too, right? Because of the question you ask.
Right. No, I'm just saying. So he doesn't. There seems to be bad blood, and it goes back to June when they canceled the Miss USA, the Miss Universe contest, and then the head of programming at Univision sent out on his Instagram account a picture of Donald Trump on one side and a mass racist murderer on the other side. We always blur out the faces of these mass murderers, and he was forced later to apologize for doing that. But the point is, can you understand Trump's side of it, which is, this is not the outlet I want to take these questions from because their mind is made up about me.
I understand that, but also he's talking about the fastest growing electoral bloc in the United States. He's talking about 16 million Latinos that will go to the polls and might decide the next election. So it doesn't matter if he doesn't like it. There are questions that need to be answered. And the problem is that he's not used to being questioned. He doesn't like uncomfortable questions. It happened with you. It happened with your colleagues at Fox News. He hates it when he's being confronted. And we have to ask those questions. I think as journalists, Megyn, with all due respect, I think we have to take a stand when it comes to racism, discrimination, corruption, public lies, dictatorships, and human rights. And when he's speaking, when he's expressing those really dangerous words, we have to confront them. That's our job, to ask tough questions, even if he doesn't like them.
Jorge, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Megyn.
Up next, Dana Perino and Ann Coulter weigh in on that interview with Jorge Ramos. And later, breaking news in a standoff in Louisiana after a police officer is shot and killed.